So you and your lab partner have your table and equipment set up. You have your dissection mat, you have your black dissection tray to catch any liquid. This is to cut on. You have your scissors, you have your pencil to write with. You have your lab report with a completed pre-lab. You both have your gloves, your safety equipment, your goggles, your hair is tied up. You're ready to start your dissection. You call me over and show me you're ready, and I bring you your eyeball. Most likely yours won't have this eyelid on it, but check that out, okay? That's something we'll have to cut off for this. Most of them have already been removed, okay? We notice a lot of this lumpy white stuff, which is a mix of our sclera here and fat underneath supporting it. Okay, this yellowy part that's lumpy is fat. The tanner, more whiter part is our sclera. And then we have some muscle down here. Yours may or may not still have some of that attached to it. The first thing we're gonna do in our dissection is make some initial observations before we even cut anything at all, okay? We're gonna talk about why we pick a cow eye to dissect. You're gonna think about the fact that most of these structures are very similar or identical to the human eye, just at a larger scale, making it easier for us to work with and observe. Or you might notice the smell of the eyeball, which is from the chemical preservative that they've been in. It is called formalin. And it's a mix of formaldehyde and water. It's a really common preservative to use. It's not particularly dangerous, but it does cause irritation to your skin if you get it on there. That's why we're wearing gloves. And it can cause damage if you eat it, drink it, it gets in your eyes. So that's why we want to be careful about that. As you make your initial observations, you're gonna draw the eyeball. Okay, so we'll have our drawings here. We're gonna draw in this little box. We're gonna label the sclera and the cornea. Okay, we have our cornea, our sclera, that white part around. We're gonna describe our cornea. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Poke around, you get to touch this. What is a normal color for your cornea? Should it be foggy? Should it be yellow? Should it be clear? Okay, you're gonna be able to feel the cornea, write down if it feels squishy or if it's taut. Is it pushing out? Is it dented in? What does that feel like? What do you notice? You'll draw a side view of the eye showing the cornea kind of jutting out a little bit. You'll notice that there. And again, you'll get to press on that. Feel the eye, see what you notice. Be gentle with it, but you'll notice that it is a bit tougher than you probably expected. Once you've filled in all of your initial observations, then you'll get to move on to the next page, which is where we get to make our initial cut. Okay, the first cut is gonna be done with a scalpel, and you'll call me over, show me your first page, and I'll make that initial cut. These scissors aren't quite sharp enough to make that first cut into the cornea, so that's why we'll come over with the scalpel and make that incision for you. And all I'm gonna do is make a little incision here to just puncture the cornea. So you'll notice I just barely punctured that there. I'm being very gentle and careful not to touch the iris underneath. You might notice some fluid starting to come out of the eye as you cut the cornea off. You're gonna gently cut around the edge of the cornea to remove it. That liquid is your aqueous humor. That's gonna start coming out of the eye. Let's see, I'm gonna move this eyelid out of the way. You might need to remove it, but we might not, we're gonna see. We're gonna just very gently snip around the cornea. Again, we're making small and shallow incisions to make sure that we don't cut any of the underlying structures. We want to avoid cutting that iris at this point. Just small cuts. Snip all the way around. Start gently lifting it to help us cut the final pieces. We're gonna remove that cornea. Once we've removed the cornea, we can start to make some observations about it, look at it, feel it, and answer some questions about the cornea, and then about the iris and the pupil. So we can see our pupil in black here. It's a bit of a different shape than ours is, and we can really see that that pupil is just a hole. We're gonna also draw what we see here with the iris and the pupil. Once we've finished filling in our lab report, we'll go to the next page here. This is where you get to cut the iris to start to remove the inside structures of the eye. So you're gonna make 2 small incisions. You'll use the scissors here, and we're gonna do this on the long side of this oval. We're gonna do 1 incision here. You're just gonna very gently lift the iris, okay, with your scissors, and just snip to the edge. And then on the other side, again, you're gonna very gently lift that iris and snip to the edge. Once you've made those 2 cuts, it's only 2 there, you're gonna turn the eye over and you're gonna very gently squeeze the insides out. Your lens is connected to your vitreous humor. The goal is for us to see that. So what you're gonna do is really gently squeeze from the back of the eye and start to push those things out. Okay, and we start to see, oh, there it goes. This might be a little challenging. The lens might not stay connected to your vitreous humor, and that's okay. We might need to use our hands to scoop some of that out. There we go. Okay, now our eyeball's empty. You can stick your finger and gently feel that that is just an empty round hole now. Okay, there are still some structures in there that we want to observe, so we're going to be gentle with this. Set this to the side for a moment. What we're going to look at is our lens. Okay, mine's separated from my vitreous humor. That's really common with the preserved ones. But you can see here where this tear is. Okay, that's where it's initially attached to your vitreous humor. And then you can see our vitreous humor. You notice those chunks, it's kind of very jelly-like. We're gonna fill in some observations about the vitreous humor and about the lens. Once we've completed that, we can gently push this off to the side. Okay, you notice it all kind of moves together. And we're gonna flip to the back page of our dissection. At this point, we're going to cut the eye in half. Ooh, don't drop it. We're gonna cut the eye in half this way. Okay, we wanna separate the front structures of the eyeball from the back structures of the eye so that we can see what's inside. You might be able to do this just with scissors, and you also might need the scalpel to make your first incision. So if you do need the scalpel, let me know. Okay, so let's see what mine will do. We're gonna kind of just gently pinch the eye and make our first snip. Okay, because we wanna cut this in half. Let's see. This is a very fatty tissue. Around it, your sclera is very tough. Remember, it's meant to protect the eye, so it can be a little tricky to cut through. But if you're gentle and patient with it, you can get there. But again, if you're having a hard time and you decide that it'd be easier for you to get that scalpel to puncture it, let me know and I can come make that cut for you so that you can cut it in half. Let's see. I might need to do that with mine. Oh, no, there we go. So you're just gonna keep gently cutting through. You'll feel when you puncture the eye. There we go. And you start cutting. Look at how thick that tissue is there. Okay, so there's quite a bit to cut through, so you just have to be patient with it. Again, I might still keep cutting through here. Oop. So all of this fat we've kind of gotten around, and we're getting to the sclera, which is where I'm struggling to puncture. So I'm actually gonna use my scalpel to make a little incision here so that I can use my scissors a bit easier. So if you do need help with that, let me know and I can make that cut. We don't have enough scalpels for everyone to use, and it is a bit more of a dangerous tool, so I will have that to help you out if you need. And then we're gonna just start cutting our eyeball in half. There's my incision, there we go. Again, this is a bit tough. This is probably one of the more challenging parts of your dissection, but once you get that snip through, once you make it through the fat, through the sclera, then we can start to cut all of this off and see it starts to go a bit easier. You'll notice I'm kind of going in front of some of this fat so that it's a little easier to go through the actual eye itself. It's just that first one, that first incision, making that puncture, that's a little challenging. We're gonna cut this in half. And you'll start to see that we can start to lift these structures out to remove the front portion of the eye. We want to be careful to try not to damage the retina as much as possible, but if you do cut it a little bit, that's okay. Let's see, I need to go around this way. And this part's a little bit tricky. So you'll notice I clipped my sclera a little bit and my retina a little bit here, but that's all right. You can still see it's mostly intact. So now we've separated the front of the eye. You can see I still have a little bit of vitreous humor in there. Put that off to the side. And I can see a little bit of that retina. See how far up it goes into the pupil? Okay, it almost comes all the way up to the inside of that pupil. And we can look at that. You can see the muscle in your pupil. Okay, you'll see all of those ridges. That's how it squeezes and relaxes to change the shape of your pupil. And then we have the rest of our eye. Okay, this brown membrane here is your retina. We want it to stay flat. What you'll notice is that your vitreous humor actually holds it against the back of the eye. Okay, we can slide the retina around with our finger. Let's see. There we go. It's going to come off gently there. And that brown membrane there is the retina. You might notice what points it's connected to the eye at and what it feels like to take it off. Okay? It tears really easily. It's a really thin tissue, but you'll notice, look at that, it's only really connected to the back in one spot. We notice the tapetum here. Okay, animals have that, we do not. On the back of our eye, this is part of their choroid. So for us, it would just be a dark vascular tissue instead of this blue, shiny, abalone looking material. Then we'll also notice on the back of our eye, let's see, for mine, it's kind of buried in here. We're gonna dig in here and you'll find something jutting out just a little bit. It's a little bit of a firm tissue. Here's mine, you can see it right there. And that is your optic nerve. Typically, yours is much longer. It comes all the way from here, all the way to like the middle back of your brain. Okay, but that's our optic nerve. And you're gonna draw that. Yours may or may not be as covered in this thick fat, but you should be able to find it. And you'll notice that it connects right very much directly to the retina, okay? Where the retina is attached is the same place that the optic nerve comes out. Once you've gotten to here, you'll finish going through and answering all of your questions. And then, if there's anything else that you'd like to do or observe, if you have time, you can. Let me know if there's anything else that you would want to try. Okay, you'll notice that this layer of tapetum also just kind of comes right off the back of the eye, because again, it is just a layer of tissue. And so you can peel that. Look at that, pretty cool. At that point, it's gonna be time to clean up, okay? You've done your dissection, you've done your observations, you've completed your lab report. We're not gonna throw this straight in the regular trash because, well, they'll go bad. These are what are called a biohazard. Bio meaning something that was or is alive, hazard meaning dangerous. So this is something that can be dangerous to humans that is of a living organism. So we're gonna make sure to put all of our supplies or all of our materials into the biohazard trash, okay? So we're gonna take all of the parts of our eye once we're done. We're gonna very gently have one partner take our scissors and our pencil to one of the front to the middle sink. They're gonna go rinse those off. And then we're gonna have our other partner very gently carry all of this to the bio waste trash can. What you'll do is gently lift up your blue mat and you're just gonna kind of scooch it all into the biohazard trash. There'll be napkins next to it too to help you wipe it off. Once all of this is in the biohazard trash, then you're gonna go rinse your dissection mat and your tray off at the back sink. Once all of your equipment is cleaned up and rinsed, you're gonna put it back at your table. You're gonna get rid of your gloves. You're gonna throw these away in the biohazard trash as well. And anything that touches the eyeball that is trash will go in the biohazard trash. And then we'll clean up and make sure everything is situated, and you'll be dismissed by table with your completed lab report and your cleaned up space.